Now, the IPID National Head of Investigations, Matthew Sissoko, is currently testifying at the state capture inquiry today. Sissoko was suspended and charged for defeating the ends of justice, later reinstated. He and former IPID head Robert McBride were accused of altering the investigation report into the illegal rendition of Zimbabwean suspects in 2010. ENCA's Michael Apple is tracking that story for us. Michael, first of all then, so Sissoko from the IPID has taken the stand, as I've just said, related to this very controversial renditions scandal. What's the essence of the testimony so far?
So, Jeremy, a lot of it is a corroboration of what came out of Robert McBride's, the former IPID head's testimony when he took to the stand earlier this year. Around, as you say, this Zimbabwe rendition story, it dates back to 2010. There were 5 Zimbabwean nationals that were, according to a report, illegally deported back and allegedly murdered in Zimbabwe. So there were certain people that were charged here. It was Anwar Dramat, it was Shadrack Sabia, who was the Gauteng head of the Hawks, and there was another Hawks official who was charged, General Labia. So these 3 gentlemen are charged based on an IPID report. So then Minister of Police, Nathien Klerko, charges IPID with investigating this report with this illegal rendition took place with the help of crime intelligence, which was strange since crime intelligence doesn't investigate. So that was the warning sign for Matthew Sissoko back then already. And he says they do the investigations, they come up with 2 reports. One is an interim report, which he never sees or signs off on as Matthew Sissoko, and the second is a final report which says Anwar Dramat, Shadrack Sabia should not be charged. Subsequently, what would come out is that there is a separate report which says Shadrack Sabia and Anwar Dramat should be charged, and that is when Waxman's attorneys is brought in to look at the miscommunication here. This is something that Sissoko took issue with. Listen in.
In our view, there was no need to even appoint a law firm to investigate this issue. This was a simple operational issue that could have been explained properly to the minister.
Yes.
That is why later, because of the events that happened, it became clear to us what the intention was.
And Michael, once again, certain journalists' names have cropped up as having allegedly been used to push stories in the media. What did Mr. Sissoko have to say in respect of that?
Yeah, certain journalists accused of planting particular stories in very prominent Sunday newspapers. Sunday Times journalists then, Mzilikazi wa Africa and Stephen Hofstadter, 2 names that have come up repeatedly at this Commission of Inquiry. Matthew Sissoko was saying that these are the journalists that were involved in writing up the SARS, the now debunked SARS rogue unit stories, the Cato Manor death squad stories targeting Johan Boyson, the KZN head of the Hawks, and the Zimbabwe rendition stories. This testimony that these journalists in particular were used by certain people in the security cluster to drive a particular narrative comes off the back of Colonel Kobus Rulofsa, the former senior Hawks, or the current Hawks investigator, who said that one of his informants says that crime intelligence uses journalists to push or pull certain stories depending on the narrative they need to create. Listen in to what he had to say about this.
Chair, every little thing, after Mr. Kuba received some evidence that seemed to suggest some wrongdoing against General Dramat, and sharing that evidence with Mugangwe and the team that he was working with, it will immediately be leaked to the media. You know, so it was clear that there was an orchestrated effort to put General Dramat in a bad light.